book starts with Harry Keyishian because it turns out he was a student at Queens College in 1952 when some of the most popular professors at the college were called before the Senate Internal Security Subcommittee and questioned about their activity in the teachers' union, were they ever in the Communist Party, and the two professors in particular, one of whom is still alive but very old at this point, Vera Schlackman, an economist, and the other, Oscar Schaftel, died about 10 years ago, a literature professor who also had multiple degrees in classics from Harvard. So Schaftel and Schlackman both were teachers of this young undergraduate Armenian kid, Harry Keyishian. Like a lot of other Queens College students, he was quite outraged by the fact that these very good and popular professors who had never been accused of trying to indoctrinate their students with Marxist or any other philosophy. In fact, Schaftel was very open about his politics. He was, if not an orthodox Marxist, certainly intrigued by some of the ideas of Marxism. He told the students that. He said, I don't want you to write papers that are just going to, that you think I'm going to agree with. There was no complaint about their scholarship or their teaching. But because they refused to answer questions before this Senate Congressional Committee, they were fired summarily. Tenured professors of many years standing fired within a couple of weeks by the Board of Higher Education in New York City. Harry Keyishian remembers this when he got a teaching job at SUNY Buffalo in the early 1960s. So he's a young instructor. And the SUNY Buffalo English department, as it turned out, was a very lively place because there had been a series of chairmen who really thought the study of English literature shouldn't just be about Chaucer and Milton and old stuff like that. They had poets, they had contemporary novelists, they had critics. They had a very lively mix of people there, including one of the other people who became a plaintiff in the Keyishian case, George Starbuck, radical poet from the 1960s, wrote a famous poem against the Vietnam War, very powerful. George Starbuck was already, although quite young in the early 1960s, he was already a much celebrated poet, and he was working in the library at SUNY Buffalo, and he was confronted with an oath requirement, which was very similar to the Feinberg requirement. This Feinberg oath comes along, and Harry Keyishian now sees a way to have what he later called, in an interview with Bill Moyers, his revenge on the 50s. He could do something that he couldn't do when he was a student at Queens College. And at the time, the law faculty at Buffalo did a memo for the local AAUP chapter, the American Association of University Professors, and they basically said, you know, the Feinberg law has been upheld. You know, you don't really have much of a shot at a new challenge. And they went ahead anyway. They found a local lawyer, Dick Lipsitz, whom I interviewed, and they lost the case in the lower courts based on the bad Supreme Court rulings of the early McCarthy period. But eventually, by the time it got up to the U.S. Supreme Court, as I mentioned, Justice Brennan managed to craft an opinion and got 5 votes for it. So that was the Keyishian case.